Yeah, making a video. I'm back to the regularly scheduled stuff. Anyway, there's this discussion going on religion, and I just find it fake. Incredibly fake. Professor Anton does admit some truths here, but then he just puts the veil back over it again. He shows the reality, and then he again has to cover it with the glitter and the gop and the goop and not admit what he's already revealed, what he's exposed is this linear idea that this knowledge of the human race, it started off as the dumb monkey and it has schooled itself through time. It has been educated by experience and has learned truths about what it is to be human, and the truths are fundamentally not very flattering. They're truths that take away the mysticism and the chocolate coating, and you see the grasshopper underneath it all. That we have just put a fruit coating, whatever, some sort of, we've packaged it so it's consumable, and by necessity, by environment, by the circumstance. It's like the human race started off on some sort of good shit lollipop where it's all simplistic: chase the balloon, bad guys, boogeyman. The fight was a visceral and simplistic. And through time, our adversaries have become more complicated. We discovered as little microbes are after us, and then we've discovered now there's this psychology thing, and there's different elements now. So the monsters, the enemy is different because we've gotten smart enough to see the real deal. I guess as an overview statement, I would say that this is. They're gonna keep playing this game like there's a place to get to. Like there's some sort of environment where this is where humans were meant to be. This is where they are fully functional, and they're not conceding the obvious. Once you reveal this stuff, there is no function underlying it. It is just a reflexive mechanism, a programmed machine. It will, excuse me. It will just behave. It will react based on what little switches have been hit inside of it, and that's its psychology. And the overriding, under knowledge of the truth, under knowledge of the maze with the microbes, with the knowledge gained through investigation, the evolution of the theories of life, the evolution of the knowledge base, the factual bits that we have. It doesn't take you anywhere but program the machine, and you can program it to be any kind of silly beastie you want. You can modify this zoo animal and create an environment for it and watch it bounce around off the little bumpers. But you haven't made anything. You're only satisfying some sort of need to play the game. So yes, you can make an interesting pinball machine out of us. You can put all kinds of little bumpers and flashes and beep 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 and make the humans do all kinds of little funny antics. But you only need to do that to cater to a human being, to cater to something playing the game. And the game is entirely a manifestation of a cockroach that lies at the base of it all, a little feeding machine. That's what I'm trying to get to, is that there's the linearity of knowledge. When you really get serious about understanding reality, you're going to get to this reality that you're just an irrelevant sack of programs. You're just a machine. You can't escape the machine world. and the agenda is artificial. It's crude and stupid, and there is in fact no intelligent agenda. There's make a mess, clean up a mess. There's make a boogeyman, run away from a boogeyman. There's just a self-serving and fundamentally self-defeating purpose in this existence. And that's the real conflict, I would argue, between religion and philosophy or science, is that people's apprehension to go to high school, to go to the next level of rational thought, to walk off the good ship Lollipop and walk on to the Titanic. They have to first have a respect for the fact that that's an obligation. You're obligated to get it right. Okay, not to I don't know what the right word is. You know, the agenda just isn't some sort of notion of contentment with the world. Your objective is not to be content with the world, to like the world, to love your life. The objective is to understand your life. There's no other way to live it right. And it's just part of the obligation to get on the machine, go, take it where it has to go, to the conclusion. And yes, the conclusion is you're going to sink in the facts. The facts will sink the function. It's just a fact. And, you know, these people have some sort of vision of a future race that thinks, that wants to aspire to be honest and intelligent and to cherish enlightenment, but keep one little part, keep this one truth separate. And there's lots of metaphors and stories that kind of duplicate this. I mean, even the Planet of the Apes, where the orangutans were holding the truth. They knew the truth of the history, and they wouldn't let anybody know the truth because they knew the truth was, isn't this game stupid? Just in the sense that there was a whole civilization before them that was better than them, and but that better came at this horrible price of being human. I'll be back. And I'm back. Yeah, just keep talking instead of getting to the playing of the video. Just a segment of it anyway. But there's always little sentences and you just say, yeah, but you could make that point a little, expand on that segment and say an awful lot about what's happening here. So he starts off with this sort of a concession that there is such a thing as a primitive philosophy. We call that religion. It's the less elegant, the less accurate diagnosis, description of reality. And I guess my critique of this conversation is again that they have decided that some portion of reality will leave a fantasy because we need a lie to live by. And no, I'm saying if you take it all the way, you'll see the clinical truth, and like the other truths, like the little monsters, the little electron microscope bed bugs, the little creatures that are crawling about us and on top of us and inside of us, the truth of us is a little monstrous. The truth of the mechanism we're part of. It's not the good ship Lollipop. It's the Titanic. Fancy, but not fun.
There's a logical sense in which science comes after religion. religion is prior, in the sense of it's the initial introduction into a community, and that community will have something like answers and responses to ultimate questions about who one is and what life means. And I don't think science...
See, so that, he could have just said right there is the point, right? I mean, that's okay. That's what religion is. Religion's the bad guesses. Yes, when we were in grammar school, we got a lot of the answers wrong. But as we have acquired information and knowledge, we can get answers right now. And the only real question left open is one of those right answers. You have to respect the truth. The truth will set you free from ignorance. The truth will set you free from stupid judgment. The truth will set you free from frivolous indulgences that cost you a priceless cost. Or you could say that most of our culture and our society is completely ineffectual in terms of accomplishing the task of deriving our comfort. We create human beings, we addict them to absolute crap. American Idol, the Olympics, baseball, football, you go down the list of every indulgence, every entertainment, every pleasure, gambling, the lottery. Every one of these things can be understood to be preposterously silly in terms of its efficiency, in terms of the gratification gained, the wasted energy invested, the lack of real social value produced. We could love making the world a better place. We could love and enjoy watching people make the world a better place. And instead, we glorify falling down a hill. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. And it is so because we haven't admitted what we are, which is programmable bots. Things that you push a few buttons and you can get it to bounce off of anything. You can get it to enjoy anything. And we have to start being a little bit sensible about our programming and quit glorifying the inner cockroach. Squish the inner cockroach. It's a bug. And deal with the fact that the only thing to replace it with is logic.
Has to or necessarily displaces religion. I think it will, in time, refigure it. We will start to realize...
Okay, so basically just saying that there's still a place for the delusional gameplay. Cherish your inner child. Take your lollipop onto the Titanic so you can chase it around while the boat sinks. While they're rearranging the deck chairs. You can sit on one of them and lick your lollipop and it'll all be okay. So it's just a concession to we need the crude agenda, because guess what? There's not going to be a sophisticated agenda. A smart person will not play a dumb game. So you have to keep the animal dumb. I think that's all he's saying.
There's questions of context and of, of certain spaces where we want to say this domain is perhaps better served by the orientations that come from this tradition. Now,
there you go. He's just Cornelius, I think that was his name. I'm not sure. He's just the orangutan, saying the apes and the gorillas and the chimpanzees can't handle the truth. So yeah, let them have their lollipop, let them chase their sack of bullshit, because they need it. They need the crude agenda, because they can't They can't deal with the truth. They can't function without the truth. And even that is that the premise of that argument is got layered in it a huge bigotry, and that's sort of what the orangutans had, was a huge bigotry, a huge lack of realization that what the knowledge that they're hiding will tell them is that their fate is going to be the human fate. They will not escape being human. They will not escape the brick walls. They will not escape the technical boundaries of doom. So yeah, let's just admit that the progress of human understanding, though it reveals tragedy, tragedy is the truth. It's the truth.
Oh, part of it has to do with, I think this is one of the major problems on YouTube, okay, is that I don't know if there is such a thing as science, but I think we can all roughly kind of agree, at least there's more agreement in...
Okay, sorry to interrupt, Professor. Well, I think what he's saying is that, I think he should have said it the other way around. I think a fair way to say it would have been to say it another way around. That there is no such thing as a religion. Religion is just primitive bad science. It's the first science. These were the first guesses at how reality works, and they were really wrong. Okay? The people presumed magic because they saw the dove pop out of people's sleeve, and they didn't understand what the truth of it was. That the guy didn't manufacture doves. He just shoved them in his sleeve. We didn't understand disease. We didn't understand the weather. We didn't understand the rotation of the planet. We didn't understand why the seasons. All of these mechanisms were not understood. So they all looked like some kind of magic performed by some kind of magician. It's really that simple. I don't think religion can be argued to be anything else other than bad estimations about how the trick was done. They're bad guesses, and that's all they are. It's just bad science. And so, I'll let him continue, but I think he just said it backwards. All right, science isn't suspect. The process of edification isn't suspect. The suspect part is the fact that sometimes you're doing it as a grammar school student, and then you move up to algebra and geometry and trigonometry and all the rest of it. You start doing better math. I suppose math isn't the best example because 2 plus 2 is 2 plus 2. But obviously as children we're told fables and stories that have nothing to do with reality. And as an ignorant organism roaming the earth, we were that. Ignorant.
The scientific community and the religious community about what the scientific method is. Right? I mean, the scientific method roughly is something like falsifying hypotheses, rigorous testing, prediction, right? You have to be able to make some kind of claim that could be falsified.
And weren't they doing that in even the ancients and their religions fighting with each other? Even their fables have this contest built into them. Whose God is God? Well, my God, I can turn my staff into a serpent, and then Pharaoh gets his serpent, and Moses' serpent eats Pharaoh's serpents. I mean, it's this battle of the gods is all over the place. In mythology, the gods are fighting with each other. There's always this contest of the gods, and which god is the real god, and which god has the most magic powers. And so, yeah, it existed. The same testing existed. It's just that they didn't have anything. They didn't have any instruments to test with. They didn't have any telescopes and microscopes. They couldn't put your blood under there and see whether you were infected.
And through disproving, we accumulate bodies of knowledge that ultimately give predictive value.
Oh, there you go. I don't think things are valuable because they're predictive. I think they're valuable because they're descriptive. So again, yes, it's very nice for a theory to predict something about the future, but it's even just more functional that it be descriptive. And there's a value in and of itself of having an accurate description.
And that, okay, now that seems to be very different than just critiquing a particular religion or a particular religion's dogma, which I see so much on the new atheist movement on YouTube, which is largely either anti-Muslim or anti-Christian.
Yeah, well, if the Hindus played more in the arena, they would probably get picked on more. But obviously, we're a little distant from their babble. The Anacondabods are trying to drag it into the conversation, and it'll get ridiculed appropriately likewise, as soon as it tries to assert itself as a theory to live by. Because it's all just gobbledygook, okay? It's all, you got 2 or 3 little, obviously even a little kid can recognize some truths. They can look at a car and say, look, smoke comes out, noisy, noisy. They can get the idea of big, heavy. Maybe they don't know what a ton is, but they know big, heavy. So yes, some of religion, once in a while religion actually gets something right because some of the truths are pretty obvious. But again, the substantial theory behind it all is so broken. They've gotten so many formulas wrong that it's not math that can be used by anybody who's going to call themselves intelligent. There's no logical continuity in the story. It's a really bad model of function. If you allowed religion to describe your car, you would find the description preposterous.
And it's largely, let's pick on crazy fundamentalist people who believe what very few people believe because it's just crazy and way far out there.
It's not a matter of just picking on them. The truth of the matter is that our society is shaped by this crap. Our functionality, we are all stuck riding in this vehicle, and what this vehicle runs over, we're all going to feel accountable for. We all feel as we're stakeholders. Not only are we passengers in the vehicle, but our loved ones are on the road the vehicle's traveling. And this vehicle is going to jeopardize them. And yet these wackies are deciding, pulling the strings on the steering wheel. They're tugging on the direction of this thing. And so I guess it seems like it's not just for the sake of ridicule. This isn't some sort of academic discussion. It's a vitally important discussion in which, zillions of sentient lives are at stake. So I guess people should be a little bit passionate about that. When they actually believe with every logical connection in their brain that the idiot driving is an idiot. I think you'd be a little bothered if you got into a limo, okay, and like Barney the dinosaur's driving.
That's fine. People can do whatever they want with their time. I think the larger question, though, would be...
It just fluffs it off like this isn't a conversation vitally important to the human race. Like we can all sit here and pretend it doesn't matter what fundamental philosophy is driving our civilizations. And that's exactly what's got us crashing into, carbon poisoning. Ugh.
What are the resources in the... Maybe a better word would be the spiritual mindset of the religious impulse. The impulse...
No, the religious impulse. So there's an impulse to understand. The mechanism demands it. It's a model-making machine. It wants information, makes models. That's what the impulse is of the brain. And that's the extent of the impulse. There is no spiritual impulse. There's obviously a self-interest in ego. Okay, we are driven like most mammals. We have a very competitive nature and hierarchy and alpha mechanisms that drive us to self-serving conclusions. Ones that we like to look at mirrors that make us look better, not worse. And so the tendency of our selfishness to dictate what the truth is because it feels better is certainly an impulse. Okay, it feels better feeling the world rather than understanding the world, and wanting the truth to be not the Titanic. That's the impulse. But that's clearly selfish and clearly understood as one of the precepts you learn when you graduate from grammar school and become something better than an imbecile. You recognize your impulses are not your intelligence.
Toward love and toward community.
Well, there you go. Now, is that good ship lollipop mumbo jumbo, or is that real boat, real game conversation? Is that something like is that talking about thermodynamics and describing the function of an engine, or is that going vroom vroom, rumble rumble? I mean, is it baby talk, or is it a real effort to get to the nature of the functionality? So, come on, love.
But it doesn't have to be, I guess, this. It has to have something like a truth to it. I think there does have to be.
So, just basically saying here, it has to be a really creative lie. If you're going to tell stories, they have to be really creative, so there's no catches, so there's no holes, so nobody can go, well, that, we see how the pigeon popped out of his sleeve. So if you're going to do magic, you have to do really spectacular magic. That's all he's basically saying. If you're going to have to fool us with better stories. You're going to have to be more creative, create singularities, and, go. The cusp of the black hole creates a hologram that says, I love you, in three-dimensional block letters. Come up with some kind of fable that they can, people can shove into a more clinical language. So now you're basically, yes, okay, let's accept that we have to talk in technical language, but we're still going to talk like babies. We're still going to go, well, the pressure coefficient is, 4 times the, balance of the weight of the mass of the metal, and makes my winky hard, or whatever. I mean, you're just going to sit there and, again, emotionalize and take the cockroach agenda and, again, allow it to manipulate the truth. And so now you're just trying to do it more creatively. A better lie. Yeah, let's make better lies, to live by.
Its own sort of truth, but it's an inward truth. It's a truth about.
Well, there you go. Isn't that wonderful jargon? An inward truth. Yeah, come on. Is that rational, logical mush, or is that just mush made to obfuscate, made to, let's just paint that over with a little bit of whitewashy. We'll have an inward truth, and then we'll have outward truths. And that way we can call lies something else besides lies. Come on.
How one feels connected to others in the world. I think if people say, well, love is an illusion, science says so, and your consciousness is an illusion, science says so, and agency is an illusion, science says so, and in fact there is no meaning at all, science says so.
Well, you got the first 3 right. Science doesn't say there is no meaning at all. Okay, so I think that's a silly projection. So to negate what science does, which explains the fact that you're a psychology, he takes it one step further and says science shuts the door on being able to recognize, even the simplest bits of our sensitivity and the importance of the manifestation of our sensibilities and our sensitivity, which science does not do. Science does not negate consciousness, does not say it does not exist, even if it says it's illusionary space. Illusionary space is space. It is a thing. It is happening. Science doesn't say consciousness is not happening. Science does not say suffering is not distinctly different than pleasure. Science doesn't say that. So don't put those words in science's mouth, because that's not fair, buddy.
If a person gets hoodwinked into that, they have fallen into a kind of religion, and it's the religion of science. But there are other right? There are other forms of, and that's bad science. It's really bad science. It's scientism. But there are other forms of.
So I mean, isn't that just rhetoric? It's scientism. Again, so put the credible with the incredible. Slander science by putting words in its mouth, and glorify religion by implying that it has something to do with love. I mean, you're just playing games with the words here to distort the truth. You're just rationalizing the deception, making excuses to keep lying because science wants to do something bad. Science is out to get your ego, and the truth is it is out to get to the truth, and the truth is that's what's driving you, and you just don't want to admit it, and that it has nothing beyond your self-perception. It's a delusion. The play of the game, the fact that the game is playable to you, is a cockroach's delusion, not an intelligent person's perception.
Religiosity, which make no claims to dogma, which make no assertions about virgin birth or life after death or about creator gods,
but do add on a big giant happily ever after. So yeah, they don't tell as preposterous a fairy tale. Okay, there's no three bears, so they keep it just people, okay, in the metaphor. And they have the people do whatever, chase the silly pink balloon, and they chase the silly pink balloon happily ever after. So yeah, you tell an honest, maybe even an honest story, but you'll just add the tagline, and they lived happily ever after, completely denying the truth.
They have to do with psychological health and wellness and question.
There you go. Psychological health and wellness. Now, isn't that a big can of worms? Right? What is a healthy psychology? What should revolt you? Should you be... Is it healthy to endure World War II? Is it healthy to accept any bludgeoning of your senses? How much trauma should you be able to witness and maintain your health? Yeah. And where are you going in the end? What is really healthy? I mean, this whole description of what a good life is your life good because you were comfortable, or is your life good because you made the organisms on planet Earth more comfortable? I'm going to argue that scientifically, rationally, there's only one way to view this game. That your independent brain means nothing. Okay? Brain is brain. Okay? This one isn't more special than that one in any way of its welfare considerations. Whether it's comfortable or uncomfortable, it just doesn't matter which one is doing which. It just doesn't. And once you realize that, you realize there's no winning this game then, because the game comes at taking. It's a game of take. It's not a game of give.
About who one is, what the nature of the cosmos is, what possibilities there are for growth in love, for...
There you go. Okay, what possibilities there are for growth in nonsense, bullshit, fables, happily ever after stories. I mean, this love word is just a whatever you call that, a fake variable just thrown in to mess up the math so we don't have to accept the horrid conclusions. So you just throw in this fake variable to unbalance the math so the balance doesn't scream and shout to you the truth, which is there's nothing loving in sentencing something to death. There's nothing loving in enslaving something. There's nothing loving, okay, in deriving your comfort at the spectacular failure of somebody else. Go look at the popularity of fail videos on YouTube, Professor, and just recognize how dismal this is. That people are actually deriving their entertainment. Okay, they're actually finding it entertaining. Not just that they're finding it acceptable. They're viscerally jizzing on other people's misery. And think about that for about 10 seconds, and I think you'll realize this is a failed experiment. These monkeys ain't going to go anywhere good.
Passion for fellowship, I don't think any of it has to be a debate between some.
Passion for fellowship. I want to rub her hiney. I mean, let's just, again, they just use it. Love and fellowship. What is it? Lust. Horny. What are some other words for the ego? Accomplishments. I winness. I'm better than them. Superiority. I mean, what is love made out of? This self-glorifying, self-gratifying, self-bronzing, of our ego gratification. We should be humiliated that we can be tickled in such a silly way.
Science and religion. It has to be a sensitivity toward the contexts in which one orientation is more appropriate than the other. I do think the world's religions are going to need...
Yeah, one orientation than another. So another way of saying one theory than another. So again, we're back to this argument. I'm sorry, I just don't know how you people believe that these completely conflicting descriptions of the model, these completely conflicting descriptions of how an automobile works, is acceptable. That you'll sit there in the bus and let somebody drive it who thinks unicorns make it move. Angels are pushing it. And you're going to just say that, that's wrong-headed of you to sit there and say there's a truth here and we should understand it to get the best performance out of this vehicle, to avoid running people over, that maybe we shouldn't be thinking about how to manipulate the angel strings. Come on. This is critically important. Religion isn't harmless. Delusions aren't harmless. Happily ever after is not a harmless hope.
To detoxify by de-dogmatizing, as there's so much dogma, and the truth that they've...
So he's going to argue that the silly parts of whether there's one God or 5 gods, whether there's 10 commandments or 25 commandments, that somehow that's the part that needs to be fixed. And it's not the silly conclusion that needs to be fixed. The silly conclusion that unicorns, you can pull unicorn strings and make the bus move. You can pull the love cord and everything will be okay. No, it's that conclusion that is the biggest threat. I don't really care what wacky thing people believe in, whether it's an angel or a god or a mystical singularity or a hope-hopey. What's the difference if it's wrong and it leads to happily ever after? If it writes that happily ever after, That's the thing to worry about. All right? Why they're concluding happily ever after doesn't matter. The fact that they've got the conclusion wrong is the thing that matters.
Some of the traditions the fundamentalists have appealed to is this extreme ultimate objective truth, which I guess from my own perspective is obviously a problem.
Well, it's not an ultimate objective, okay? It's a wrong absolute, okay? It's a preposterous absolute truth. That's what's bad about it. This idea that there is a truth isn't a problem. The problem is they're fundamentally and critically wrong in the description. So it's not a truth, it's an absolute lie. So call it what it is. Don't misdescribe it as being something it is not. It is not a truth. It is not a truth theory. It is preposterous nonsense. You can't call something that far off, that completely wrong, an attempt to describe reality. That's not what it is. It's an attempt to distort reality.
The religions that are going to be salvageable are going to have to be those that can speak to the truths.
Why should we salvage it? See, again, why should we salvage any part of our grammar school education when we're in college? There's just it makes no sense. Go salvage your old worn out sneakers and put them on the shelf and dream of great sneakering of the past. I mean, there's no fucking point. This is a smelly old shoe religion. Throw it the fuck away. It has nothing to contribute.
That people know with their hearts, that people know from their lives, that they know from the very subjectivities by which they navigate their world over what gives them good conscience and what gives them bad conscience, and what kind of world.
Well, whatever. So this is just this presumption that we have some innate knowledge of right and wrong is just wrong. We have innate knowledge of selfish son of a bitch. We have innate knowledge of how to be one motherfucking cockroach. That's the innate. That's why people will live in absolute shit and then pop a baby out and say, "Eat it, baby." Gobble up some shit. They'll have babies on fucking the piles of trash in junkyards, and they'll fucking have a baby on top of that mountain of shit. So don't, again, this is not harmless delusion or harmless ignorance.
They think they really want for people, and to be honest with themselves. I think if more people could see, it's kind of like.
Well, again, but this is the thing. They're not going to be honest with themselves unless somebody forces them to. So to say that the ignorant man is going to admit he's ignorant, well, that ain't going to happen. You're going to have to show him he's ignorant. You're going to have to rub the ignorance in his face. You're going to have to humble him down, because it's not the native function. The native function is to say, I'm alpha until you kick me in the nuts. That's the truth of it. Everything thinks it's master of the universe until something kicks it in the nuts. And if the intelligentsia isn't going to kick the ignorant in the nuts, the ignorant are going to think they're alpha. They're going to think they're masters of the universe. They're going to think they have magic powers. They're going to think all this dangerous with dangerous aggression. They have to be humbled into submission to recognize, oh, I'm really stupid, and maybe I should be in a cage.
Alfonso Lengus, in his beautiful book called The Community of Those Who Have Nothing in Common, he just basically suggests that there's really only one community. It's the community of the dying. We're all dying together. And until...
I don't know why. There's the point in harping on it. The point is we're not living happily ever after, okay? I don't think we have to harp on on dying, because I don't know where you're going with that. I mean, the fact that you people want to go to bed with the dying doesn't make much sense to me. I don't want to have intercourse with the dying. So I don't even know what does this metaphor mean? What is this? What is the intent of this besides saying, let's just warm up to futility? So let's talk about the beauty of the futility. So maybe if we put some romantic music on, and we put get buy it some good underwear, somehow we can have a relationship with futility. I think that's what he's doing here. He's just trying to make dying sound like candy eating. Well, dying's fun after all. Yeah, dying's cool. We're all dying. Yeah, it's really great. It's one of our best attributes. Woo! Especially when you're all smelly and pooping your pants. Yeah, dying's great.
People can recognize that until they can come to terms with...
Yeah, I don't think you come to terms with any of this shit. I think you just whitewash it the fuck away. You just put it in some fancy underwear and say, I'll sleep with her. So it's all lipstick on the pig, baby. I see what you're doing.
That no one gets out and we all share the same fate.
La 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 la. So just ride it right back onto, we hop on the Titanic for a moment, say, oops, this is going to sink, and then you just hop right back on the good ship Lollipop. Even though you learned something, what you learned how to do was, hey, just tie a pink balloon to it. It'll look okay then. So yes, we're living in the zombie, death, doom, gloom, boom world, but let's all dance. I mean, come on.
Don't know how many people can have a robust religiosity. It will just be more and more divisive. So, wrapping it up there, I think, Matt, appreciate the video. I think there is a lot more to be said about the relationship between science and religion, both the parallels between them, the distinctions between them, and the contexts where one is maybe to be preferred than the other. I think...
Yeah, just acknowledge what you said before. One is the trial version of philosophy, and one is let's try to do it with a little bit of seriousness.
Part of the problem for religion is to eke out the orientations and the insights and the kind of truths that they offer, which are not subject to maybe outward verification, but they certainly do have something like prediction value.
Yeah, well, I just don't see any point in putting that standard on the truth. Again, it's about description, and all the model has to do is be consistent with function, consistent with analogous mechanisms you could build and say, these are the rules. This is the gravity, this is the magnetism, this is the force, this is the potentialities. And I think you can test a theory by that standard. It doesn't need to run, because some things don't do anything. Some things are machines and they function. Some things are arrangements and they just sit.
We do have something like the disclosures within one's life that help one, I guess, live a richer, more robust life, to not fall into traps of self-loathing.
Oh, so again, robust by whose definition? Robust by what? I could sit there and make the rat maze game, and I could have alpha rats that rip all the other rats to pieces. Are they living the robust life, or was the rat who's healing the wounds and comforting the sick the one who's living the robust life? I can have the miserable Dr. Zhivago or something. I mean, there's function to your life that doesn't have anything to do with whether you're having a good time.
Self-despisal, overall bad conscience. If one believes from the get-go that bad conscience is an epiphenomena, there would be no point in worrying about it. Whereas I think for other people, I
don't even know what that means, but a bad anything is never not something to worry about. So maybe you should check that. Bad anythings. Bad is something to worry about.
Know that in some way, their mood, their overall sense of how they find themselves in life